Hey, Paul,
Hmm.
what do you get when you combine the Guns of Navarone with the Dirty Dozen?
Hmm. Hmm. I don't know. What do you get?
You get this latest episode of Battlestar Galactica, reviewed by us.
Who calls me from out of the pit?
There are those who believe that life here began out there, far across the universe, with tribes of humans who may have been the forefathers of the Egyptians, or the Toltecs, or the Mayans. Some believe that there may yet be brothers of man who even now fight to survive somewhere beyond the heavens.
Tonight we decided to watch the two-part Ice Station.
No, not Ice Station Zebra. Although, I suppose a little bit of Ice Station Zebra in this episode as well. No, this is the Gun on Ice Planet Zero.
That's right.
Parts 1 and 2. Called on all the review sites, a film, as well as in the credits of the show.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that.
We'll go over the cast.
Yeah.
We'll go over the plot.
Yep.
We'll go over the plot holes.
We'll go over the various plots that it ripped off.
Yes. But overall, I mean, this was one of our favorites from when we were kids.
As a kid, I can't quote. As an adult, I mean, I can't quote as many titles of the episodes, but The Gun on Ice Planet Zero has always stuck with me since I was a little kid. Loved it. Loved it very much.
Yeah, and there's a reason why it was so good.
Yes. Yes. I wonder why I loved it.
Well, let's go over the cast first before we get into the story too much.
Yes. So we have the cast, but you know the regulars.
Yeah.
So let's go to our guest stars.
Yep.
Our guest stars. So in this episode, there's a group of criminals that help out with the destruction of the gun on Ice Planet Zero. We have Roy Finnis as Croft. James Olsen as Thane.
That's a Swedish name.
Yeah. Christine Belfort as Lita, the lone criminal female.
Or as I like to call her, the Proto Janeway.
Yes. And, of course, Richard Lynch as Wolf, Richard Lynch, in yet another evil role.
When you need a bad guy in the 70s, you called Richard Lynch.
Yes. And then playing the parts of clones, we have Denny Miller, giant man that he is.
Who had a giant IMDb page.
Correct.
He was in literally every TV show in the 70s.
Although to me, he looked like a combination of an Oompa Loompa, giant Oompa Loompa, and one of the bearded guys from the Tom and Jerry cartoon episode with the pigs. And then, of course, the beautiful and way more talented in this, Britt Eklund as the female clone. And then finally, we have Dan O'Harely, a character actor apparently playing Dr. Ravachol.
The man was in a million movies.
Yeah. This one was written by Glenn A. Larson, Michael Sloan, and of course, Donald P. Bellisario.
Written.
Yeah. I do a quick summary of the plot. The Battlestar and its fleet have been pounded, almost corralled, or what would you like, almost like cattle.
Oh, well, he did say, I'm pretty sure they said corralled.
Corralled, yeah. Corralled by the Cylons to take this certain path through space. And they discover why, because as they're exploring this, they're going past this ice planet, they send out some scout ships, and the scout ships are attacked by some strange laser bolt that fires from the planet and instantly destroys every ship it hits. But one of the young cadets, Kree, he gets hit, he gets winged and lands on the planet. So they come up with Adama just knows this is why they've been sent there.
Yeah, and he is the commander.
He is the commander. Yeah, and he also has the weird spiritual father guidance.
Yeah.
He of course decides he's going to get together, have the computer pick a crack team to go destroy this laser gun on the surface, and therefore that way the ship can continue to fly exactly past the path of the gun in space. Unfortunately for Adama, Starbuck goes in and changes the computer so he, Boomer, and Apollo can go with, as always, because you have to have you have to have the leads of the show,
right?
Part of it, but it's a bunch of criminals who they need a demolitions expert, they need a mountain climbing expert, they need a medic, an Arctic expert. And so it happens to all be a group of criminals from the prison barge. So they all get dressed in similar costumes, so they're all equals on this mission. And this group gets together, and we get the debut of the shuttle. Finally, which is one of my favorite ships from the show.
Although none of the women flew the shuttle.
No, of course, no. Oddly enough, right after all that talk of women fly shuttles, we don't get a woman flying it. We get Starbuck flying it. So that's a good point. But I always did like the look of the shuttle.
Oh, the shuttles are cool.
Yeah, and so they take a couple more scouts, and of course the gun starts attacking them. As well as they launch a Cylon squadron after the group, and so eventually they all crash land a couple of them crash land on the ice planet, and then they have to try to escape into the tank truck vehicle that's housed in the back of the shuttle because they lose all their power. They're getting shot at, aerial bombardment. And as they're doing all of this, they discover that Boxy and the Moffat have snuck aboard so they can see snow.
A la Spritle and Chim Chim.
Yes, a la Spritle and Chim Chim in the trunk, yes. Thank God, because they saved the day.
Yes,
but,
they actually do serve a purpose, much like Spritle and Chim Chim.
Yes. So then we get, it is a two-parter, and it is a film length. It definitely, again, one of the ones that that Glenn A. Larson must have planned as a mini film because it's definitely got a film plot. In fact, you could argue it's got various parts of 3 films plots, but we'll get to that. And so, but it does feel like a movie, and definitely we noticed the special effects were great. Were great. We'll get to that. So the Moffat jumps out of the truck, and he's going to go get help, I guess.
Like Rin Tin Tin, he's off to get help with Lassie.
Yeah. He finds a colony of people, and it kind of the scene cuts. I'm not quite sure. I'm assuming Moffat went and got the people out of the village. They went and got them out of the truck, and then they all wake up in this village.
It was pretty cool, because at first you're confused what the hell's going on.
Right.
And the best part about that for me was they were confused too.
Correct.
So you felt what was going on with the cast.
Yep. And they discover that they're in a colony of clones. And so there seems to be only 2 prototypes, although I think the man is called a Series 5 later.
Yeah.
Which for Battlestar Galactica relaunch, Series 5, Series 4, that becomes important in that show. But anyway,
you're on your own with that.
I know. One day. And so the clones. But these are clones who have revolted against their other clones and their creator god, a scientist who the Cylons have employed to build them weaponry, although he claims to not know later on.
Well, in classic science fiction form, it wasn't designed to be a weapon. It was supposed to help mankind. This big gun
was supposed to send messages or something across space.
It was supposed to be able to shoot messages across space.
And it doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's pretty thin.
Yeah. I think he's lying. I think that doctor is full of crap because he basically, he creates this clone army of clones for how
many movies
for the Empire, the Cylon Empire, but they're slaves. So he creates slaves. He doesn't seem to. And he takes no responsibility for. He's kind of like a Nazi scientist almost.
He really is.
Yeah.
I was only following orders by building this machine to help mankind
and my
help
clones,
mankind.
Yes. So, but these clones have supposedly they were sterile, and but the clones who revolted are actually having children now. So now they've got a reason to protect them and fight the Doctor. So with the help of the clones and the criminals, of course, there's a subplot involving some of the criminals want to escape, some of them don't. Some of them, want to earn their way back into society, which I think Adama. Well, I don't remember. It doesn't really say if they were then given their.
Well, they had to wrap this up.
Yeah, they had to wrap it up quickly. Yeah,
shows just ended.
Yeah. So I mean, normally you would have seen them getting allowed back into society. But anyway, so then there's there's just various plots. Then the Cylons they're discovered. The Cylons come to search for the new humans, kill the people from the Galactica. You get them meeting the creator god who denies everything. And then eventually they convince him how much more human his clones are because they have children. That sways him to their side. So he shows them the plans that luckily no Bothans had to steal to bring to them. And they discover where these PowerPoints are, and then they take the famous explosive walkie-talkies.
Yes.
And they layer it with bombs. And of course, and then we get a countdown at the end. So we get the Galactica, 5:30 centons to Galactica's destruction. And so they're going to run this gauntlet. They're going to try to run this gauntlet, and even with the gun going, but they're just hoping Han will get the shield. I mean, they're hoping that they'll get the gun destroyed so they can make it through the gauntlet. And of course, successes they do. So anyway, that's the. But I talk this way. It sounds boring, but it really is one of my favorite episodes.
Yeah, we're gonna riff on it quite a bit, but it literally is one of the best stories in this series.
Yes, because ellipses. It is. I mean, it's a direct ripoff of the Guns and Navarone, for sure.
Yep.
With a little bit of the Dirty Dozen thrown in.
Yep.
And then I would argue that the last 10 minutes of it is Star Wars. It's the end of Star Wars with the Death Star. And so, although weirdly enough, parts of it for me, an ice planet, having to blow something up with little boxes and trying to get ships through. I mean, it's almost like, did George Lucas come back and rip them off for Empire and Return of the Jedi? Yeah,
I'm going to say yes because of what they did to him, and he decided to rip them off.
So it's just weird. So we get that, but yeah, definitely the countdown, the way the gun was designed. Although it kind of also reminded me of the ion cannon on Hoth, firing at the Imperials so they could escape.
Yeah,
put their hand up. Apparently everyone in the Alliance get to cheer this way. So that always bugged me. But so definitely a ripoff of the Guns and Navarone. I mean, you put together a ragtag group of people to take out a gun. I mean, as we said, the scene where the gun's destroyed, I mean, is directly rips off.
Yeah, I mean, right down to the big wheel rolling over on the explosion, on the explosive.
Yeah. So that's probably why the plot is so good, because they definitely mine some.
You steal from the best.
Yes. Yeah. Of course, again, as always with Battlestar Galactica, there's my kid brain versus my adult brain. So kid brain, I think on some level I knew this was Guns and Navarone, though, because that was one of my favorite movies as a kid.
Yeah.
So I think that I probably didn't make the connection,
right?
But just loved it as much,
right? When you're like a 10-year-old, 12-year-old boy, war is all you're really into.
Correct. War and whether it's in the West or in World War II or in Space versus Cylons.
So you'll watch World War II movies, and
Correct.
I think I saw Guns probably 7 times.
Oh yeah, when I was little. Yeah. And then even better once we knew who Harrison Ford was.
Yeah, you go back and wait a minute. I recognize that guy.
Yeah. Yeah, so for those reasons, I mean, what the hell? I mean, we all know that Star Trek was wagon train in the stars. Star Wars is a Western. I mean, it's all, so why not? Why not do a space version of a classic war movie?
Yeah, like I said, if you're gonna rip something off, rip off the best.
Yeah. And I mean, and let's face it, it's almost every James Bond movie too. I mean, there's always a countdown. Clearly, but of course, cleverly to 007 is always the countdown, not to 1. So,
yes.
But yeah, so for those reasons, I think it's great. I mean, now as an adult, I wish to nitpick.
As an adult is where you start noticing the huge plot loopholes.
Correct.
Now, but the thing about that is, adults made this, and they either thought kids were too dumb to notice, or they were so rushed they didn't notice.
Correct.
But there's some glaring issues.
I don't know where television audience was. I mean, back in the day, television was considered the lesser media. Like to be a movie star who then had to be on TV was, I mean, you were, oh God, what a horrible fate.
Yeah.
And so was TV just considered they weren't as stringent, maybe, or figured the viewers didn't care? I don't know.
I'm willing to bet rush.
Yeah. It was rush
schedule.
Yeah. Because nowadays things are so taken apart on the internet, and creators put, I mean, come on, there's Easter eggs was invented. The term came out of what everyone does in TV shows now, and so, and of course, homages are purposely done so people can catch them. And so I think the audience is just a lot more savvier now. So maybe back then, I mean, as a kid, I didn't care.
Well, and it was, I think the show was definitely targeted for kids to young teenage boys.
Right.
Who won't notice certain things because they're too busy watching war.
Yes, exactly.
They want to see the explosions.
Correct.
The cool Cylons.
Yeah. The gun itself was neat.
Yeah.
I mean, the effects of the gun. And so, I think they didn't have to worry about that kind of stuff. But as adults, we shall nitpick.
As is our prerogative.
And so I think the biggest problem is, oh boy, I'm a nerd out here. So get ready for
okay, because I have my biggest problem.
Let's have you go first, because then I can get ready to shame myself on video. So.
No, you've been saving this, so you go first.
No, go ahead. No, please.
the two go first.
Yeah,
no, you go first. No, you go first. Apparently, the convoy in space doesn't have reverse.
Correct.
Because or space isn't big enough. Like, why couldn't they just go a little bit to the right to get out of the range of the gun?
Yes.
But then if you do that, you don't have the dramatic countdown.
Correct. And you don't get the classic running the gauntlet like in a Western and running through while the villains are above you in the mountains and you're running through the valley. But it also it makes me think of Star Trek II, where they figure out that Khan only thinks two-dimensionally. So they just lower the Enterprise down, wait till he flies past, they'll bring it back up, blow him away. And so why couldn't they just Z minus however many centons and just fly, like you said, fly under the range? I mean, it's kind of a silly weapon when you've got giant base stars that are mobile gun platforms. Why put one on a?
Well, I think the reason is because it was okay. Let's pretend that Dr. What's his name, the scientist, the creator,
really was going to do that.
Who is both a biological genius and a mechanical genius.
Correct.
He's like a Marvel scientist.
Yes.
Let's pretend he actually did design that to be a thing sends signals.
Correct.
So, but then the Cylon Empire gets a hold of it and goes, you know what? This is a pretty good weapon. And then Baltar, who, by the way, enough with the spread eagle.
Yes, he's doing the star.
Every time he turns around,
starfish.
it's like we don't need to see that. Yeah. But
he's like, fear me.
And right. And that's why Baltar led them through that gauntlet.
Well, and there is, I think, one saving grace is the Lucifer mentions that they don't have enough ships to attack the Galactica at one point, and so it sounds like. So, and we'll get to the. I mean, all right. So let's say so. Here, this does help the plot. They've gone beyond a known space, and we know. So it sounds like the Cylons too are very thin on getting supplies and weapons. So I guess that makes sense. That there are, let's funnel them towards this gun.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but
then again, we're beyond known space.
So how the hell does this doctor come about and know the Cylons, and the Cylons have him? And it really doesn't make
that. I think is attributed to the rush job.
Yeah.
Because the breakneck pace it takes to create shows.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, they didn't have like an editor in chief who could go along and go, wait a minute, a continuity guy, you know.
Yeah, for us, the breaking the barrier of the known universe should have been near the last episode.
Yeah, that would have been a great way to, like, if you knew the series was coming to an end.
Yeah,
that would have been a great way to end it, where they go through.
Yeah,
and then roll credits.
Or the other way you would have written it is that you're going into Cylon controlled space. It's beyond our knowledge as humans, but we've discovered it's now Cylon controlled space. And there's other humans we didn't know about.
It would be like
one line would have fixed it.
Since we're so obsessed with World War II with this series, it's like it would be like crossing the border into like occupied Poland.
Correct.
You know?
Yes.
Where there are humans, but there's also the Cylons.
Right. We didn't really know about it, but here, we've never explored it, but here we are.
Mm-hmm. Well, unexplored space. What's with all the Cylons?
Yeah, and the humans who seem to know about all of us in our war.
Well, I mean, the Galactica didn't know about it.
No, right.
But if you know where you are, you know where you are.
Although, I mean, to me, either that or make it a social commentary that the 12 colonies, the main planets, kind of like Star Wars, where they're the core, and they were just too high and mighty to care about the outline, So they call it known space, but we knew about this space. You damn Capricorns,
right?
Like snooty Capricorns,
right? Or like if we could have made this show now, where you could take the time to pace it out in the script and actually have the whole script written before the director yells action on the first scene. Some of this stuff could have been cleared up, but it wasn't, as we call it, prestige television back then.
No. And I'm sure, clearly we're both just hung up on this thing. So it's really I think in the long run, given when the show is made, why it bothers us so much, I don't know, because I don't think the show really, the show's not that concerned.
It's probably why, like, my dad sat there and talked about how stupid it was.
Yes.
As an adult, he's like, why can't they just back up?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
very true. Yeah, they could have. They could, or split everyone up, spread themselves out. But the gun only has so much of a range.
Or just stop.
Yeah. Or fly to the other side of the planet.
Right.
And you orbit around it.
Right.
If the gun's on this side, the gun's firing on that side, fly to the other side and just keep going.
Now that I think about it, though, we may be making we may have forgotten one thing. Baltar and Lucifer were talking about how Adama doesn't know that they don't have an entire fleet of Cylons.
That's true.
So they're pushing the fleet through, which they said in the beginning of the episode.
Right.
But it wasn't like just
or at least send the two base stars they had, one with some fighters above them, one with some fighters below them. Oh my God, we're going to have to go through this gun now. We have no choice.
Maybe make that a little more prevalent.
Yeah.
But like I said, just spread the herd out.
Right.
They can't possibly shoot all of them.
Yeah.
But,
it just doesn't. Or they needed something on the planet, ice, water, I mean, make it like something where It's less about getting past the gun; it's getting through the gun to get to the planet to get the water, or something. Anything but stupidly not just.
Let's go around the other side.
Yeah,
but we can't.
Or it's only on this trajectory that we know we can get to Earth. Or according to the prophecy, you must fly by the frozen world.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
you must thread the zero.
And again, we're ripping on it, but it really is a great 2-part episode.
It really is. And I mean, more of the. And I really do like the criminals working with the pilots. I like that whole.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, the one bad guy. Now, okay, you got Richard Lynch. You know he's gonna do something shifty,
which he does.
Yeah. But the funny part to me is like it's subverted expectations because you had the convict with the scar, so you figure he's like gonna do something terrible, but he ends up actually being a pretty decent dude. The rest of them
tries to get the job done.
Yeah, the rest of them are pretty well.
It's like they're divided up. So you've got Richard Lynch on one end, who just I'm a criminal. I went out and I'm staying a criminal. You got the former, I think he was a former pilot who's now a criminal with the scar, and he wants to redeem himself and get back in society. And then you got the doctor and his wife who are kind of in the middle. They just want to get out. They don't want to be part of anything.
Yeah.
And so they're going to use this as a way to get out, but they'll help them. And we'll help them with their mission, and we'll just find a good time to escape.
Yeah.
Like it's implied, like there are other like they could escape to other worlds. Again, how do they know that? But
well, they didn't. That was the thing,
true,
because Apollo was yelling at him. You don't know. We don't care.
Right. We don't want to be on Galactica. So yeah, I would get that. I mean, that you're stuck on a ragtag fleet and you're on the prison ship. I would assume the prisoners probably get the least worst food.
Yeah, they probably get the shortest end of the stick.
Yes. And I really enjoyed the special effects. I love the gun. There's a lot. I mean, the gun was really complicated. The way that it would like power up and everything would drop, and then the gun was double.
Yeah,
it kind of had the double power signature, and then it fired it through this way. I thought that was neat.
It had the cool Frankenstein sound effects, which was also the Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon ship sound.
Yeah, so
which was kind of a nice little nod.
Yeah, and I mean, it still was. As a kid, or even watching it now, I mean, I'm always a fan of a countdown. So, I mean that it does still make it exciting, even though they're going to get through. But
it's that simple of a plot device.
Yeah,
ratchets up the tension so well, and like you said, they're going to get through, but how many of them aren't?
Correct. Yeah,
like Colt 45.
Right,
it works every time.
Well, and to me, it's like watching a disaster movie. It's who someone's going to survive, but who? Yeah, overall, much better. I think we're pushing like our critique. I can tell I'm nitpicking. Whereas before with the Western episode, it's painful to watch.
Yeah.
This one I really enjoy watching as an adult. So.
Yeah. You make the contract that I'm watching these couple of movies smashed into this one movie.
Yeah.
And you really got to nitpick it to fill up an episode.
Yeah. And believe me, if given a chance, I could nitpick Prestige TV as well.
Oh yeah.
So no problem at all. We won't talk about
plan.
So
the less said about that, the better.
That's correct.
If you think you know what we're talking about, put it down in the comments.
Correct.
All right. Well, on that note, I think we'll wrap this episode up. If you liked Ice Station or
the gun on Ice Planet Zero,
let us know in the comments. If you hated it, let us know in the comments. I usually pin a question down there. Go down and take a look. Maybe play along.
You know what I'd like to know? Here's a good question for everyone. What old war movie or Western movie would have made a good Battlestar Galactica episode?
Yeah.
And then tell us how you would change it. How would it work as a Battlestar Galactica episode?
There you go.
You should do that in the comments. Let us know that.
All right. Well, on that note, just like in the beginning, I'm Paul.
I'm Mark.
And this has been the return of the son of the show.